if you can befriend the guys from Kids and Brian Austin Green, like you have a lot to talk about.
I know you'll know where we were when. I know you'll know where we were
when. Hello, and welcome to Where We Were When, a podcast where we look back at the most memorable movie-going experiences of our youth. And we also eat candy. I'm Heidi Gardner, and I'm joined as always by my big brother, Justin Gardner. Hi, Justin.
Hey, Heidi. How are you?
I'm really good.
Good. Well, that's great. That's fantastic.
I'm really good. I just I'm on we just did 3 weeks of shows, and now I have a 3-week break. So, and I'm choosing to work with you, but
is this work though? I mean,
no,
this isn't work. This
is joy. Fun. This is joy. This podcast is Justin and I just basically talking about movies that we remember seeing, where we were when we saw them, who we were, our ages, if our mom's creepy boyfriend was with us, all that sort of stuff.
Oh, the litany of creepy boyfriends.
The litany. And yes. You'll hear about those. Maybe not tonight.
No, I don't think tonight. I don't think we have that planned for tonight.
Yeah, I think we'll actually still be talking about our father. There's a movie where our parents were still together in this episode. So
yes, a couple.
Yeah. So yeah, we are just going to talk about movies that bring back some really fun memories for us. And what we like to do before we talk about those movies is have some candy. So Justin, I sent you some candy. You want to open it up?
I do. I am opening. I have no idea what this is. So for everybody watching this, listening to this, I don't know if you can hear this. This is me opening up my Amazon Prime. Oh, it's packaged. So it's like,
yeah,
there's two reveals.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. There's a little well, yeah. There's a little Twizzlers too. Okay. And a bunch of crunch. This is
premium.
I have to yeah, Jeff Bezos was on his game, you know?
Well, he's a huge fan of mine on SNL.
Is he?
Huge. I get everything from Amazon for free.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that cool? That is amazing. That's amazing.
And I haven't shared any with family or friends.
No, why should
now.
you?
Exactly.
Why should you? Yeah. So but I mean, a couple, this cost you it cost Jeff.
Yes.
Maybe what, like $6?
Yep.
It's not that much.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got some Mambas.
Yes.
So this is a Tropics Mamba.
Mm-hmm.
This is orange and strawberry Mamba.
Mm-hmm.
And this is sour Mamba. So I'm going for the sour Mamba.
Well, I know that you're going to, but I actually
want me to go for a different one?
Focus on original.
You want this is the orange and strawberry?
Because
okay.
Sour's new and original is what we would have gotten in the theater.
Fair enough.
And I do want to tell you, Justin, I remember the first time that I ever had Mamba, and I was with you.
Oh, okay.
It was.
Tell me that story.
It was at the Tivoli Theater, Tivoli Manor Square.
That's interesting that they had Mambas.
I know. Well, but they were like an indie movie theater in Kansas City, so they were going to have the more indie candy.
Yeah,
you know
I guess
what I mean?
So.
Like they weren't going to have Starburst.
Like Now and Laters, they weren't going to have Starburst because this is the indie Starburst.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
And it was 1992. It was a Sunday. You guys, this is crazy how much I remember. 1992. It was a Sunday, and you and Mom wanted to go see A Midnight Clear. Do you remember this film?
Yes, I do remember that film.
Yeah.
This is strawberry, by the way. I'm popping on.
And I really didn't because I was 9 years old and it was like about World War II. But I ended up.
Can we set up what that is about? Midnight Clear. The reason that we wanted to go see it. I'm so sorry. This is way too chewy. the reason why we wanted to go see it is because our hometown newspaper, Robert Butler, we would always look for the reviews, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost positive he gave this 4 stars.
Okay, that's
which was
huge.
a rare event.
Yeah, that's huge.
You get some 3.5 stars. 4 stars was really, really rare. And this was Ethan Hawke too. He was, back in the day, like he was really cool. It was a feel-good movie. It was about the war. It just had like it checked some boxes. So there you go. There's the setup.
I was 9, so it didn't check my boxes. As far as being told on a Sunday, which was like the last day of the weekend, that we were going to be seeing that. But
or we were going to go see a movie, right?
Yeah. So I was a little like put off by like, that's what we're going to see. But the Mambas were incredible. And then the movie was really good. I mean, even being 9, I remember being like, when you're little and you feel like, oh, I'm an adult seeing like an adult movie. And I think probably the next day at school, I was probably like, yeah, A Midnight Clear is my favorite movie.
And like, what's that? It's like, oh, it's at the Tivoli.
Mm-hmm.
I had some
Exactly.
Mambas.
And they were probably like, what's that?
Oh, because they didn't know what Mambas were. They knew what Now and Laters were.
Mm-hmm.
They knew what Starburst were. But they didn't know about these little gems.
And guys, Mambas are good. And they're just underrated and undersold. I don't know. They're hard to find.
Well, you know what this is? So this is right now, like out there in the world, there's this thing called haichu.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, I think it's like an Asian, like, fruit candy.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same thing.
Yeah.
Mambas were there first.
Yeah.
I have a Topo Chico, which did not come in theaters, but I'm going to open that up right now.
Okay, well, we're like on the same wavelength because I have a Canada Dry ginger ale, which also did not come in theaters.
Yeah, there you go.
So we're going really indie with the treats. But what we have to talk about today is like kind of super mainstream.
Very mainstream.
Very mainstream. Justin and I decided that we want to talk about movies of Beverly Hills.
Why were there so many movies made about and surrounding Beverly Hills?
Well, I mean, I can answer that very quickly and just be like, because that's where at that time, late 80s, early 90s, actually all the 80s, that's where in a young person's mind, the most richest, beautiful, most powerful, coolest people in the world were Beverly Hills, and also Rodeo Drive. I mean, I don't know how many shopping montages from my youth were all about Rodeo Drive.
Yes. Beverly Hills, the most money, the most power, everything that you're saying is correct. But the reason why we were introduced, I believe, to the Beverly Hills was via the Beverly Hillbillies.
Okay, yes, that's true.
Yeah, so like that kind of like like people kind of knew about it, and I think like it was like in newsreels back in the day. It's like Clark Gable is he's in his new mansion in Beverly Hills, right? But then the Beverly Hillbillies came in, right, and that really kind of cemented Beverly Hills as sort of like the opposite of rural, right? So. But it was many years, right? Like between that and the first actual, I think, legit Beverly Hills movie, which was
Beverly Hills Cop. I actually don't remember seeing this one. Like, at the time
it was 1984. It was 1984.
Yeah. So, but you do, right?
You were 1. Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do. This was an R-rated film. It was one of the first, if not the first R-rated film, because I would have been 8 at the time.
Ooh.
And yes. And that's how young our parents decided that, you know what? This is the right age. Time to see an R-rated film.
I just want to punctuate that with this is our mom took me to see Kids when I was 12 years old so that I would. So, and then at the end of the movie said to me, "Do you want to be like that?" And I was like, "I guess not. No, I don't know. Is that the right
What?
answer?" Yes. Yes. And she
This
wouldn't
is the
let me
first time
see.
I'm hearing about this.
And she wouldn't let me. A year before, she wouldn't let me see Interview with a Vampire. I had to like beg. I mean, both I shouldn't have seen, but
I would have been, I think if I were a parent, I'd be like, hey, mythical representations of the dangerous, of dangerous sexuality. Let's go with that before we get into the kids beating each other over the head with skateboards
mm-hmm,
and, HIV being casually passed between friends.
mm-hmm. Well,
Wow.
I saw it. Yeah.
You saw it, 12 years old. That's some
Yeah.
new information.
But back to you were 8 years old. You're getting ready to see your first R-rated film, Beverly Hills Cop.
And we see Beverly Hills Cop. And in Kansas City, there is one mall that used to be the mall. And that mall's name was Bannister Mall.
Oh.
It was the OG mall. I know. And it's no longer there. But Bannister Mall was like the OG indoor mall of your dreams, of your youth. Had everything that every mall and every movie had. The courtyard with like, the performances, the big weird statue of like the logo, in another like, I mean like World Wonder Woman 84, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of that
Yeah.
mall,
Yes.
but more tans. Bannister Mall had
Yeah.
more tans, not as
Very
many
tan.
whites. Yes.
Tans, terracotta stairs. It was kind of Spanish in a way.
Yeah, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So there was an AMC theaters inside of Bannister Mall. And, it was one of those classic mall theaters, right? It was,
Yeah.
and that's, that is kind of like right at the middle-ish of the multiplex. When they weren't making the multiplexes outside of the mall, they weren't making the multiplexes and then putting like a strip mall next to the multiplex. The multiplex was inside of the mall. The way that multiplexes should be inside a mall.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that was an anchor tenant. Those that was like why people came. They would come maybe like an hour ahead of time, hang out, go to the food court, grab some pizza, grab some gyros, some ice cream, and then go over to the theater, right? So that they could, because there was no reserved seating, right? You had to get to the theater early, right?
Yep.
Especially on those Friday nights, because the movies would be sold out. I mean, they'd be legit sold out. So yeah, Bannister Mall, like that's where I saw Beverly Hills Cop.
I need to give a shout out really quick when talking about this mall. This is for all the girls listeners. There was like right next to the movie theater in the mall, there was a Sanrio store, like a Hello Kitty store that my mom would always take me to before we would go see a movie. And I still I have dreams about it. I mean, I've never seen a store like it. It was the first time I saw Karopi. It was the first time I saw Dottie the Dalmatian, as well as like every Hello Kitty eraser. And my mom always let me get like one thing. I just needed to like shout it out because I I've never seen another store like it.
Do you remember? So your memory was of the Sanrio store. I had two distinct memories about, no, three. Okay. These were actual stores. All right. A store dedicated to candles. That's it.
Okay.
Straight up. Candles. A store dedicated to just leatherware, leather jackets.
Mm-hmm.
And then a store dedicated to pewter figurines. Right?
Yes.
That was it. Pewter figurines, candles, and leather jackets. I believe the jackets was like Wilson's leather jacket. That was like,
Yeah.
like, and then I'm not quite sure what the candle store was. Wicks and Things. Does that sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know what yeah.
Yep.
Pewter was something like Pewter Memories along those lines. And
Yes.
our grandmother had
Pewter
no
fan.
less, very big pewter fan, had no less than, I would say, 24 pewter figurines.
Justin, I'll go 4 dozen. I mean,
4
there was that
dozen.
whole shelf in the living room full of pewter.
And what you have to know about pewter, we are way, way off topic. But what you have to know about pewter is that it is a highly, highly bendable metal. So, there'd be like the kid with the fishing pole, and of course, as kids, we were going to mess with that fishing pole because we knew we could just bend it, right?
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff was made out of pewter, and like our grandmother would come by her pewter showcase and be like, "What are you doing bending his fishing pole? Stop it."
I
She
think
put
it's
up with so
okay
much.
that we're talking about pewter and not movies because pewter is more interesting to more
Pewter's more
people.
yeah, you know what? I wanted to talk to you about doing a pewter specific podcast.
Yeah.
Because I mean, why not, right?
I think we totally should. I think we finished this out just because we said we'd do it and we want to, feel like winners. And then we'll just switch over to pewter.
No. But seriously, let's talk about Beverly Hills Cop, because the thing that I remember about Beverly Hills Cop is clearly Eddie Murphy, right? Eddie Murphy.
Mhm.
Just like you watch any, like, I would not say, besides like Tom Cruise, Eddie Murphy was like the king of the 80s. I mean, and he was so funny, and he was I believe he was 23 years old when the movie came out. So he was 22 years old when he made Beverly Hills Cop. Okay. Charisma, it's just, he is to this day the most memorable actor of any type of like franchise. It's just like, especially during the 80s, man. I mean, like, he was just there, and he made the movie. Like with anybody else, uh I don't even know if it would have worked, but he just brought this perfect timing, physicality to it, right? Because he could do the stunts, or it seemed like maybe he could do the stunts. I don't know. It probably wasn't him. Um, Eddie Murphy was just perfect. He was just
Yeah.
perfect, and so that's what I really remember. I remember Eddie Murphy, and then I remember Bronson Pinchot.
Mm.
Friend, my name is Serge, and how can I help you?
Serge?
My name is Serge.
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 Yeah.
Serge.
Excuse me, Serge.
It's a very important place. No, I mean, like that was at the time. So I was like 8, right? And so at that time, like, you'd watch movies, right? And that was, I think, one of the first times like you'd watch movies, you'd be like, oh, this is cool, this is a movie. But that was the first time that I remembered a tiny little bit part, right?
That's special.
It's a special moment because
Yeah.
Serge was just so funny. And you're like, who is this guy? Did they get this guy from, like, this is clearly, where did they find him, right? What country did they find Serge from? Because Serge has to be from another country, right?
Mm-hmm.
Come to find out years later, right? Because Perfect Strangers didn't really do Bronson Pinchot any favors in the career flexibility category, right?
Right.
Because he went right from Serge, and then he was Balky Bartakamus,
Mm-hmm.
right? So still, I think, like, still at that time, like with Perfect Strangers, like, oh yeah, this guy is from another country.
Yep.
Yeah. He just is able to slide right into this Balky character because, that's the situation. But no, actually, Bronson is a American. And I was doing a little research on Bronson.
Okay.
We talked about this a little bit beforehand.
We did.
Yeah. So Bronson, if you wander on over to Bronson Pinchot's Wikipedia page, you find out a lot about his ability to buy and flip homes in the Hartford, Pennsylvania region. And this is just one of those situations where I wonder why somebody is this focused and in the weeds on Bronson's ability to buy and flip houses in the Hartford, Pennsylvania area. Because there is like a big long paragraph. I have it here. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to go through this, but there's a big paragraph on the Wikipedia page of Bronson Pinchot about his ability to not be able to flip these houses. He bought like 6. He had to file Chapter 13 bankruptcy, right? And this is too much information about Bronson Pinchot. Like we don't need this information on the Wikipedia page.
Well, I like that there's someone who seems like they're a bigger fan of his house flipping than his acting work. And I like how high up on the wiki page is it? Like,
well, so if my memory serves, the Wikipedia page has, all the things about his, his life. And this is part of the personal life section. And his background is like a small paragraph like this. And then you've got this type of paragraph about his ability to create viable real estate investments, which once again is not great. And you know what? I am actually, because he was Bronson told the Citizen's Voice, I have 2 skills. I can make old houses beautiful and I can make people laugh. Other than that, I'm a waste of space. Well, I'm a dedicated son and brother, but I have no head for businesses. So apparently he can buy the homes. He can make them look beautiful. If you're coming to buy the house, he can make you laugh, but you're not going to buy the house because he can't sell them to you. So if that's not a tragic story, but again, why do I know this?
I love it. Yeah, I hope I would love someone to flip my wiki page. Maybe it doesn't lead with SNL and like they hear this episode and it leads with like Heidi Gardner loves Bannister Mall. She loves the Sanrio store and her mom took her to see Kids when she was 12. I mean, like, I would love that.
Okay. All right. Well, so I'm sure that there are going to be some stands out there and they are going to go and they're going to do that to your Wikipedia page at some point in the future. And you have to be okay with that. You
have just to stand behind it.
You have to stand behind it.
Well, Serge made his comeback in the Beverly Hills movie that I remember seeing, Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Beverly Hills Cop 2, which was still in Beverly Hills.
Yes.
Yes.
And I feel like it was like, I don't know how you do this, but it was like Beverly Hills Cop got a makeover and became Beverly Hills Cop 2. Like, I mean, Beverly Hills got even better, like, because Brigitte Nielsen came in. It got even more glamorous and the cars were better and it got a real good soundtrack. This was 87.
Okay. Yep.
So I was little, and this is like one of my first real memories is our mom got obsessed with the song Shakedown by Bob Seger that's playing during it's kind of like a jewelry heist that's going on, right? During that.
Oh, you're going to ask me what that was. Sure.
I feel like that's what's going on, but like Shakedown is playing, Shakedown, Breakdown, everybody wants to, that song. Shakedown.
The crowd alive. Yeah.
You're busted. And my mom loved doing the you're busted. And so we would watch the movie at home. I remember watching it at Dad's house and we would act like the backup singers because there was a music video. So Bob Seger had these like 2 girls behind him that would be like, Shakedown, you're busted. Mom and I would do it. And we loved it. And it was something we did at home in the privacy of our own homes. Well, I'm in preschool or pre-K and we have show and tell. And they're like, mom and dad asked me, like, what do you want to bring in for show and tell? And I was like, Shakedown. And they were like, what part of Shakedown? And I was like, the music video and where mom and I do this. And so mom and dad came to my school. They VHS
Wow.
recorded Shakedown off of MTV. The preschool teacher brought in the like rolling cart with the TV strapped to it. And I showed Shakedown, and then I showed what mom and I did, like dance to it. And like all my little kindergarten friends then were like dancing to Shakedown. And it was so weird and fun. And
How have I never heard
so
about this?
I don't know.
This is a key
yeah,
memory. Like, this is like a
it's
really
great.
key. I like, how did this not come up later on that day where it's like, you know what we did with your sister? You guys orchestrated an entire, you like this entire production, and you just decided not to tell me, which is, you know, hey, listen, it's fine. I love the fact that I'm just learning about this now. But
yeah.
I have a feeling that there's a lot of things that have yet to be revealed about your performance career that I had no idea about.
You also didn't know about her taking me to see kids. So we're finding stuff out.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
And you know what? I'm going to be honest, because I was like acting cool. I think I was being a little bit of a little sister about 10 minutes ago and just kind of going along with what you said just to be cool. But I never bent Mamo's pewter figurines. I did not know that was good. Well, yeah, I didn't. Okay, well, I thought that you were saying we both did it. And like on air, I was kind of like, yeah, we both did that. But I just have to admit, I didn't know you did that.
They didn't bend themselves.
Well,
yeah,
I had no idea.
That's my cross to bear.
Well, yeah, basically that's my biggest memory of Beverly Hills Cop 2. Plus it was hilarious. Plus it was, you know, Eddie Murphy just being incredible, which I have to say, Eddie Murphy hosted a year and a half ago almost now. And
Legend.
Obviously I get starstruck, but that one was a whole nother level. And I swear to God, I'm not just saying this because we're talking about him right now. I woke up this morning and the first thought in my mind was, oh my God, you were in a Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood sketch.
Yes. Okay. So.
And I just have to say that sometimes you have to remember the best things ever.
Amazing. So along with that, right? Along with that, you let me in, of course, because I'll never say anything. You let me in on the whole idea that like Eddie was going to be on the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I booked travel because I knew it was going to be the Christmas show, and I was like, I'm there because you were doing a show in Cape Cod, Noises Off. I came up there to see Noises Off, and you're like, Eddie Murphy's going to be the Christmas show, and I was just like, I mean, it was just amazing. Like I was just like, okay, I'm there. Well, here's the thing that a lot of people don't know about this is that it's, you know, especially the Christmas show, really hard to get tickets to. The show doesn't really give you a lot of tickets to give out to people to sit in the audience. And when it's the Christmas show and it's Eddie Murphy, they absolutely do not, you know, like give those things out. So I waited overnight outside in the cold to get into the dress rehearsal. And that is an experience. If you've never waited for tickets overnight, there is a line of people who will wait outside in tent-like structures. If it's cold, it's raining, it's snowing. These people are the most dedicated SNL fans. And I was able to, you know, hang out with them, and I got in to the dress rehearsal. The coolest thing though was I was sitting in the audience, kind of off to the right, and you saw me. and he
Mhm.
gave me a little wave, and I was just
Yeah.
like, whoa. It's like, yep. And this was the first time I'd actually seen the live show, because I had always
Yeah.
come to the show, hung out in your dressing room, watched it on the TV, which is completely awesome. So cool.
Yeah.
But it's just a different reality. And I don't have any idea what you're going to be in, because I don't ask, right?
Yep.
So when I
Yep.
come to the show, I don't ask what you're going to be in. And I saw the Mr. Robinson's set, and it was on the right side of the stage, which is right where I was sitting. And, he does his spiel, knock, 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 and he opens up the door, and there you are. And it was, it's indescribable. I mean, you can't, it's nuts. It's insane. I tell people, it's like, people are like, what's it like? Da, da. It's like, it's amazing. What, are you kidding me? Like it's amazing to have, a family member on this show, and to be able to go and watch them do their thing and kill it. That show in particular, though, was just, and it was wall to wall amazing. It was so great. All the
So-
sketches were fantastic. He was just, hadn't skipped a beat. Just,
Yeah.
he was there. I mean,
And I
and he
love that
delivered.
you saw the dress too, because you probably saw like 3 or 4 extra sketches with him.
I saw more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw more. Yeah.
so
so it was great.
special.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just punctuate Beverly Hills Cop movies on Eddie Murphy's Great, which everyone knows already.
Yes.
So the next one, Beverly Hills movie that I wanted to talk about, that was big for me and probably small for you.
Not almost non-existent.
Almost non-existent.
Except I really remember one feature, which I'm sure we'll get into soon, but you go ahead.
Okay, was Troop Beverly Hills.
Shelley Long.
All the ladies in the house say, yeah. I mean, this movie for a little girl is everything. I mean, not only did I want to be all the wilderness girls in the movie, because their families lived in Beverly Hills, and they were all so pretty and had the best clothes and were so cool. But then Shelley Long, like, I also wanted to be a full woman. I mean, it was just incredible. And what was also really cool for me was, this is a movie that I don't remember seeing in the theaters. It came out in 89. What I remember seeing it on, and I don't know if people had a similar experience to this, where your local television stations, we had channel 41 and 62, which were kind of the channels that would like play all the rerun TV shows during the day.
UHF. It was UHF.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
UHF.
VHF, and UHF. And these were the ones at the very end of like the turn.
Yes.
The dial.
Yep. So during the week, they would just all day long play reruns of TV shows. And then Saturdays and Sundays, it was just blocks of movies all day long. And Channel 41 and Channel 62 were ours. And I saw Troop Beverly Hills at Mammo and Bampo's, our grandparents, just in bits and pieces. It was like, I happened to turn on the TV, and there would be the like Girl Scout cookies scene where they're singing and selling cookies. And then I would watch the rest of the movie, and then maybe like 2 weekends later, I would turn it on again, and I would see the scene where they get rained out of the campsite and they go to the Beverly Hills Hotel, and she's in that amazing like negligee nightgown and like for sleeves. And so it was just one of those movies where you like piecemeal it. You know what I mean?
Well,
Am I
yeah,
making
absolutely.
sense?
100%, because this was clearly a movie that the studio put out, and then they said, okay, we got to make our money back somehow. So let's get this thing out there. Right. And like
Yes.
these channel 62s, these channel 41s, they picked it up. they would run it endlessly. Like there were a lot of movies like that on HBO too, which was
Yep.
they were constantly like, The Last Dragon was on HBO a lot, right? So like,
Yep.
that would be one that you'd always see. But you were telling me specifically about the uh the scene where the girls have to go to the Beverly Hills Hotel
Yes. Yeah. And that
is what
is
inspired this movie.
yes, the movie is based on a real producer in Hollywood whose wife, this Beverly Hills wife, who decided, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to take over my daughter's Girl Scout troop. And they went camping and it rained on the girls. And this woman was like, we're not having this, and booked a room at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And then I think the Girl Scout leaders, other troop leaders were like, that's unacceptable. That's not what Girl Scouts do. We like rough it. And I think she was telling this story.
Not my girls.
Yeah. Out at a dinner with her husband and, directors and writers, I'm sure just industry people, and smart industry people were like, dude, you're a producer. Like, make a movie of your wife's Beverly Hills Girl Scout troop stories. And he did. And for me, it's like just a quintessential, like, dreamy movie of that time and being a little girl. The fashion in it, I mean, Shelley Long has 36 different costumes that all rule so hard. They're beautiful. Her wardrobe is incredible, to the point where, like, if I ever got to go to the Met Gala, I want to wear something that's inspired by a Shelley Long Troop Beverly Hills costume. I mean, I can't get them out of my head. She's the most glamorous woman in the world in that movie.
Well, I think, and we'll probably put it in the show notes, but Jezebel did an article where there was 36 or 37 different outfits that Shelley Long wore in Troop Beverly Hills. And I would say that like this was first a movie about the gals, right? Like, coming together, figuring out a way to get things done, right? Teamwork, right?
Yeah.
But then also fashion. This was the movie for little girls when it came to fashion, and Shelley Long was like the conduit for a lot of little girls' obsession with fashion, and grown women now, because you are
Oh,
very obsessed with fashion.
yeah. I like I was saying, it's like if I would get to go to the Met Gala, I want to dress like Shelley Long in True Beverly Hills. I don't know, like, what I'm wearing right now. We were talking about Beverly Hills tonight. I'm like, okay, I got to pull out my fake leopard. Yes, that movie was just I keep using the word, but everything.
Yeah.
Truly.
It was
And it was cool to see. Also, you never saw, like, Beverly Hills people as underdogs in movies usually. Like, they were powerful. So it was kind of cool to see how these Beverly Hills rich girls had to figure out how to fit into more of a middle class, like, situation, wilderness girls.
the Wilderness
But
Girls,
also,
right? The Wilderness Girls, not because they weren't actually Girl Scouts.
no.
They couldn't get the clearance to be Girl Scouts, so
And
they were
also,
Wilderness Girls.
even Girl Scouts, like, for me and how Justin and I grew up, like, Girl Scouts, even the buy-in for Girl Scouts was just, like, too expensive. There were, like, Girl Scouts and brownies. And I remember asking mom about it once, and it was just like, yeah, we can't afford it. So the fact that, like, Girl Scouts basically and Beverly Hills were in one movie, I was just like, that is the mecca of rich, which when you're little is like a big deal. If you're not, you're like, oh my God, they're rich.
So Beverly Hills kept on, it's like, that's the thing. It's like Beverly Hills was this at a point in time, because it's a town, really. I mean, it's a small city in the Los Angeles area, right? And it doesn't really, there's no other that I can think of. You have, of course you have movies with, New York in the title. You've got movies with LA in the title. You've got movies like Miami, right? Miami's, so
Mhm.
it's like these places, but these are bigger cities, right? Beverly Hills was the only thing. And so like, they're, from a movie standpoint, um, you had Troop Beverly Hills, and then I think it was in between. I believe, I'm not certain about this, but um, Beverly Hills Cop, Down and Out in Beverly Hills.
Ooh.
Um, yep. Then I think Troop Beverly Hills. Then I think Beverly Hills Ninja.
Mhm.
If you remember
Mhm.
Beverly Hills Ninja.
Yeah, of course.
Um, Then you had those movies that were around. They didn't have Beverly Hills in the title, but clearly it was a Beverly Hills. It was a movie about Beverly Hills, like I believe, like Clueless, Pretty
Mhm.
Woman, Rodeo Drive.
Yeah.
Like that was a big deal, right? And then to close it out, Slums of Beverly Hills with Natasha Lyonne and David Krumholtz and Alan Arkin.
Mhm.
Like that was
Yeah.
98, 97, and like that was, and then poof, just Beverly Hills just sort of vanished off of the off of the cultural landscape, as at least as far as movies go. I think is, I mean, am I kind of lining up with like your memory?
Yeah. I feel like Beverly Hills was one of those things that we heard a lot and was in movies and TV. I mean, because also there was Beverly Hills 90210, which was huge. Um,
Exactly. That was
we
huge in the early 90s.
huge, and it was one of those things that you would hear about so much, and then it was gone. Also, like I feel like quicksand was also something you would hear. And you would hear about that all the time. That was like almost one of the most common deaths in the 80s
It
and
was a
90s in films.
it was a trope. It was a trope. Beverly Hills was a trope, and the trope just got played out. It's just nobody
It
wants to
just
hear about Beverly Hills anymore. We're
yeah.
done.
And also I think it kind of takes taking a trip to Beverly Hills and being like, "Oh, I kind of just want to see it cut and
Yes.
edited together. It's
Yeah.
better that way."
Because you lived in LA, and so I'm sure you took a drive or two through, and you were like, "Oh, like, yeah, this is
Yeah. Okay.
interesting." Just like
Yeah.
anything else, the movies makes it seem a lot more interesting than it actually is. I also do think that like once the 90s and grunge hit, right?
Mhm.
It was really about Seattle,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So you had this Beverly Hills and Seattle sort of like, dust up, and Seattle won clearly, right?
Mhm.
Because it's like,
Right.
let's get something real, not polished, gritty,
Yeah.
authentic, really. I mean, that's really,
Yes.
and obviously Beverly Hills was not authentic, right? Beverly Hills was
Yeah.
this other thing.
It's a
Um,
lot easier to be grunge than it is to be rodeo,
ooh,
right?
I I I've never tried, but I would assume. Yes, I would
But
assume.
I
That's
mean,
great.
I don't know. Grunge doesn't seem like it takes a lot of money at all.
Yeah, but
So
you never, I don't think you ever actually tried to buy a pair of Doc Martens when you were 16, because those were not cheap.
they weren't. And mom
No.
did get me a pair, which was very sweet.
Yes.
So so even though she took me to see kids at 12, she also got me a pair of Doc Martens at the same age. So that was very
I
sweet.
that's still that, because that's like the equivalent. I feel like that's sort of the equivalent of like Requiem for a Dream. You
Mm,
like taking your 12-year-old daughter to Requiem for a Dream. It's like, don't do drugs, like that's it feels kind
yeah.
of like that. Yeah.
Yep, that's what it was. Well, also, I just need to say we quickly brought up Clueless and Pretty Woman, but yeah, of course, like especially as a girl, of course I was going to be just uh enraptured by Beverly Hills with the shopping scene from Pretty Woman. Julia Roberts just tearing it up and taking names.
Yes.
It was incredible. And then yeah, in Clueless, they went to Beverly Hills High School. It was just like, oh, and I wish that I would have met more people. You know, when I was living in LA, it's hard to find like homegrown LA people, like because everyone is like a transplant. But I would have loved to have met someone who like actually went to Beverly Hills High School and just to be like, so was your life like a movie? Like
I mean, I think it kind of was.
probably.
I think like part of that actually, wait a second. No, this reminds me of something. This might be what you're thinking about. Soleil Moon Frye, who was Punky Brewster, she, I guess, carried a video like camera around with her everywhere and like documented her entire childhood. And it's a documentary right now on Hulu. And she
Kid
grew up in
90.
LA. Kid 90. Okay, yes. Was that what you were thinking about?
It was not what I was thinking about. But
Okay.
basically, I guess I don't have to make friends with someone who grew up in LA and went to Beverly Hills High School because I saw that documentary and I mean, it's incredible. She just has like or video recording of her at like Six Flags Magic Mountain with Brian Austin Green. So already you're like, "Oh my god." That's
Pre
amazing.
90210, I think. This pre like they were
Yes.
friends pre 90210. Like that's how
Yes.
early this was.
And so you're like, okay, that's awesome. She's there with Brian Austin Green. But then they cut to a shot of like everyone just like getting on the roller coaster, and there's DiCaprio. It's just part of the crew.
It was all there.
And then also, we are bringing this all the way back around. Okay, so she was like friends with every teen heartthrob like that I loved at that time. Every single one. You see this movie. Then she moves to New York to go to college, and guess who she becomes friends with? All the guys from Kids. So, in my head, I'm like, okay, yeah, Punky Brewster is the coolest girl in the world. I mean, if you can befriend the guys from Kids and Brian Austin Green, like you have a lot to talk about. Like you can make conversation with anyone.
She not only did that, she dated I think the lead singer of House of Pain.
Yes.
She was there for all of it. I mean, like this Kid 90 is
And
a really, really phenomenal documentary because it's just such a crazy time capsule, you know? And
she lost her virginity to Charlie Sheen.
Oh my God. Wow. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yes. Well, and she's okay. She's okay.
She's great.
She's great. She's fantastic.
Yeah. It's a really beautiful movie. It's kind of cool that we're talking about it on here because it's a really beautiful movie about her going back and watching all these videos and reading her journals and kind of getting back to the person that she was and the people that she knew then and like kind of healing and grieving some things from that time.
Mm-hmm.
And also realizing how it shaped her into the woman and the mother she is today. And I thought it was really beautiful and cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very cool film. And then again, that's on Hulu. So check that out.
So, I mean, we talked about where we were when. We talked about where Soleil Moon Frye was when. We talked about Bronson Pinochet flipping early 1900 houses.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is just like shit in the past. I think we need to bring it current. And
bring it back.
Yes, and talk about where we are now. And this is a segment that I like to do where we can just like catch up and talk about what we're into now. So, Justin, I'm going to throw it to you first. What are you obsessed with right now?
I'm obsessed with this t-shirt. So this is you have one.
Yeah, I know.
I sent you one. Okay.
Yeah, and I have a poster.
And we both have posters, by the way.
Okay.
This is a movie that I love, you know, that came out in the past couple years, combined with your favorite cartoon of all time,
Yes.
the Care Bears.
So cool. The dude in the bear suit is a Care Bear. It's
I
beautiful and twisted.
I love twisted t-shirts. I wish I remembered who made this. I feel really bad. That will be in the show notes. Um, but I came across this t-shirt and I was just like, oh my God, I have to buy one for Heidi and I have to buy one for me. You've got a pink one. I've got a blue
Mm-hmm.
one. Bought prints of the poster. Um, and I believe that it was for your birthday, and that came along with some animation cells, some Care
Of
Bear
the Care
animation cells.
Bears. OG from the Care Bears cartoons. They're
Yes.
so cool.
And
They're
that and
beautiful.
the place where you can get those are that's a place called Animation Legends. So I'm really big
Okay.
on, like, now there's all this ephemera, you can get like these cool alternative posters and, like, t-shirt. It's all just so accessible now. But they're selling like legit painted animation cells, because remember back in the day when you'd go into the mall and there was a store dedicated to selling the animation cells, and those were hundreds upon hundreds of dollars. And now it's like $10 for an animation cell. They couldn't get rid of them. They couldn't make that business model work. Um,
Right.
so as always, I am obsessed with the ephemera of pop culture and all the things that it took. And like so this t-shirt combining two things that I love into something that's twisted and funny. And then Animation Legends. Um, you can get He-Man, you can get Care Bears, you can get Back to the Future, you can get Beetlejuice. I mean, tons and tons of different animated shows that you can buy sell
You can
animation for,
probably
hand
get
painted.
X-Men. I've got some
Ooh,
nice Rogue tonight.
nice, nice. You've got some pretty sweet T-shirts that you not only just wear in real life, but you also wear on the show. Um,
Yes.
that you bring, that aren't T-shirts that the show sources for you. You bring them to the show.
Yes. Oh,
Yes,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm a
a
big
closet full of them.
yes.
So that is what I am obsessed with. Heidi, what are you obsessed with right now?
Okay. So mine is a little more basic than yours. I'm obsessed with tahini.
Okay. Crushed up sesame seeds. Tell me about that.
Okay. So during quarantine, I started following this amazing chef on Instagram. She actually used to be a page at SNL, but not when I was
Oh,
there. And
okay.
then she went and she worked on the Today Show. And I think they found out she was like a really great chef too. So they'd have her do segments. And she's got an Instagram called Dada Eats, Dada Eats. And over
Okay.
the quarantine, I started seeing some of her recipes, like, like a cookie cake, but using tahini as she just kept on talking about tahini. And
Mhm.
I was just kind of like, okay, I want to try it. I've had tahini in like Mediterranean food, it's in baba
Right.
ganoush, which I love.
Yeah.
And so I put it in this like cake and it was really good, but I couldn't necessarily tell you that I like totally tasted the tahini in it. And just by following her, she was always just talking about I put tahini on pasta. I dip vegetables in tahini. I everything tahini, tahini, tahini. So I bought a jar and I like cut up cucumbers and bell peppers and I just started dipping
Just dipping.
dipping into tahini. And I'm number one, it tastes incredible. Also, over the past few years, I've realized how good just like fat is for your brain.
Yes.
And tahini is fat and it's filling. And I love the way it tastes and I love the way it makes me feel. Like I'm full. And also I just feel like my brain is operating so much better.
I
So
really
yeah.
think it's I really think it's Middle Eastern peanut butter.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, would that be like it's a little more sour than peanut butter.
Mhm.
It's got a very similar consistency, almost creamier.
Oh my God, we have a special guest. I'm sorry. This is the first time it's
Oh,
happened. I'm
hey,
surprised it didn't
Cubby.
happen sooner. But this
I
is Cubby
know.
Bear.
Does Cubby like tahini?
You know, she's never gone for the tahini. She's never tried.
No, she's particular.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, it's one of those things that it's just like I think I used to think you had to add it to something, but you really don't. It's totally dippable, totally good. So
It's magical.
just
Okay.
get some tahini.
If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, go out, get yourself some tahini. You don't even need a squeeze of lemon. It's not bad though with a squeeze of
No,
lemon.
it's good.
But you don't
Yeah.
need it. But you don't need it. It is Middle Eastern peanut butter and it will change your life.
Yes.
So says Heidi Gardner.
Yep. Well, I don't know. We're about towards the end of the show, Justin. Do you have anything else you
We
want to cover?
Well, I mean, there's always I always love a great opportunity. I don't know if this is going to turn into a recurring segment, but
Oh, right. I think I
right.
know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is really, we don't get a lot of time to talk during the week. You're busy, you're doing the show and, all the myriad of other things that you're doing. I figured now would be a good time to pitch you a sketch. Here,
Okay.
live. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not really live, it's taped, right? But you're always really excited to hear my ideas, right? So, oh, so, you've got, so here it is. Here's the pitch. Okay. So, you've got that character that you do, Baskin Johns, right?
Mhm.
I need your help because I'm really afraid that Gwen is gonna fire me. No, she doesn't believe in firing. Remember? It's called conscious unemploying. Right.
Baskin Johns is a very nervous representative of the Goop brand,
Exactly.
right?
Yep. Yep.
What is Goop? Can you explain Goop to us real quickly?
Goop is like Gwyneth Paltrow's like beauty and lifestyle brand. I mean, basically, it's a total lifestyle brand at this point. And it's a
Right. Okay.
website and it's a newsletter and it's everything. And it's
Right.
expensive.
And it's expensive, right? So, I had pitched a different type of like, this is related to like another pitch that I did. So a lot other people think of Goop as a little bit like a cult, right? So what if Baskin Johns joins Scientology?
So, like, have you met an SP?
No.
I have like another minute I can do. Like, you don't want to hear any of it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no. And also just so you know, since I'm the sketch expert, if anything's a minute pitch, I mean, if you can't get someone in the
It's
first 5 seconds, it's dead.
Well, maybe, I mean, at some point in the future, you'll let me get past like the first, I don't know, 5 words, but fair enough. We'll just move
Okay.
on.
Let's not make it awkward.
Well,
There's nothing part of the way for me.
Let's just go out on this as brother and sister.
I don't think we have a choice.
You're right, we don't.
That's right. You're stuck with me. All right, everybody. That's our show. Beverly Hills, Heidi. What a collection of amazing memories, 2 of which I've never heard before.
And that's exactly what I wanted to do with this podcast. I want you and I to be remembering things together and then also finding out things that we didn't know. Um, so yeah, and I hope I don't know, I hope for anyone who's listening, it takes you back to the time when maybe you saw these movies. I don't know. I just think it's so fun to think back about those times. Going to see movies when you were younger was epic. So I hope you enjoyed listening to this. We enjoyed talking about everything.
Absolutely. So, Heidi, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Heidi Gardner on Instagram and right here
And
on Where
right
We
here.
Were When, the podcast.
Every week. And you can find me at JP Gardner on Twitter and Justin P. Gardner on Instagram.
Yeah. And you can follow our younger brother at Ty for OP because he's running for the Overland Park City Council.
That's right.
That's what I'm going to plug this week.
We'll talk about that in subsequent episodes. But yeah, we have swag that I'm sure we'll feature on the show.
Yes. So thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Is this a clue what we're going to be talking about?
Well, that does look. What does that hat look like?
It says Screenland Theaters, but it looks like the Blockbuster logo.
It looks like the Blockbuster logo, and we have bags of popcorn. I think tonight we need to talk about video stores.